Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Immersive podcast. Thank you so much for being here. Today we have Mr. Glenn Mate. He is a spiritual healer and he focuses on a variety of different methods focused on the heart center. And he's also the founder of the Stargate Crusader retreat, which is coming up this summer. He's got big plans for it. He's got some products coming out. He's got some things to talk about. He's a very intriguing man who's done some great things, and we're looking forward to seeing some more great things come from him. So I'm honored to have him here today. Glenn, how are you?
I'm doing great, Tyler, and it's my honor and pleasure to spend some time with you. And I thank you, but from the very depths of my heart, for all that you do, for all of the great work that you do to broadcast these amazing people, to bring you information, to bring me authentic information. So you are so greatly loved and appreciated. I just love that and all of your hard work.
Thank you so much, Glenn. I really appreciate your kind words, and the biggest compliment I take from that is, the authenticity. Authenticity is the most powerful thing. When we really are our true self, even if it's just me, my true self is my ability to let other people shine on just yet one more little platform. It's just something I can do for the world. It's all about what you can do for the world. Little things make big differences. You never know where you're going to end up. Make choices, and you never know where you're going to end up. Before we get started, of course, always I want to shout out Unified TV. I refer to them as the network for truth. Of course, we all have mainstream media in our face a lot of the time, whether it be in our home, our schools, doctors, dentist office, waiting rooms, wherever you might be. There's a lot of stuff on Unified TV that you might find intriguing that you probably will not see in those mainstream publications. If you're familiar with Jason Chirka, Ashart Channeling, etc., those are some of the names whose material is pretty much exclusively on Unified TV. So their link is in the bio. If you're interested, they do a free trial. One more shout out also to GFL Clothing, Galactic Federation of Light. They make clothing for light workers. Dotan and Tavel, amazing people. Shout out to the both of you. I can't say enough great about them. They have been in the fashion business for quite some time, but they've channeled that gift. They've channeled that energy into what they can do for the new earth, what they can do to bring in new energy with their skills, which is making clothing of higher frequency, of more responsibility, sustainability, etc. Even looking into things such as photonically charging particles in their clothing, etc. So it's starting to really get interesting. There's a code in the bio, Tyler33, and if you add a hat to the order, you get the hat for free if you use that code. So shout out to those guys. I love them. Glenn, where are you coming at me from today? Where am I speaking to you from?
I'm in that little section of Connecticut that sticks out that's towards New York.
Okay.
Area, and
Very
not
cool.
far from Long Island Sound, so not too far from the beach.
Not too far from the city, not too far from the beach. Cool,
Right.
cool. Yeah. Always in Tampa, Florida, though I will probably be doing some traveling soon. I know everybody's probably getting used to me being in the same spot, but I hope to not be just constantly in Tampa, Florida all the time. So, Glenn, tell me a little bit about, what this event, the Stargate Crusader conference, the retreat that you have coming up. Do you want to tell me a little bit about that?
I'd love to.
Tell the listeners.
And thank you for asking. The Stargate Crusader retreat was an idea that I had formed while doing a retreat in Sedona. And the idea formed that there's so many different things that we can pick up in a retreat. Sometimes, we're listening to a bunch of presenters on the stage. Sometimes we're doing an interactive workshop with some of the presenters to learn maybe a new skill or to have maybe an experience. Somebody's guiding us through that experience. And my idea was that I've been so very blessed to attend many, many retreats of many different types. From the time I was a young man going in the Catholic religion, we did retreats, and I spent basically my whole life. And instead of taking like a vacation, it's more like, all right, I want to do a retreat or do something that's kind of enriching to, the essence of who I am.
Almost like a vacation for the soul, like not the restful vacation that we think of, but a little bit of work on the self, a little time spent in the shadow, but safely.
Exactly. And, the whole different things that I've been so very blessed to experience. In other words, from hiking in the foot trails of, Sedona, or going to Chocolate Canyon, or, even areas that are here in Connecticut, just walking through the forest and different places. There's so much to experience that I wanted to take little bits and pieces from all of that and create something that I thought would be monumental and something that would be super, super moving and important for people today, especially because there's really not a lot going on the East Coast. Well, primarily, if you want to go to a retreat today or big event, you're going to Las Vegas, you're going to Sedona, you're going to Mount Shasta, you're going to
Very
Los
true.
Angeles.
Absolutely.
And that's really great. I mean, those are wonderful, energetic places,
Of
and they're
course.
really good spots. But there's so much great stuff here on the East Coast in Connecticut.
The
And,
100%.
folks like yourself and me that live on the East Coast, it takes
Right.
a lot to get over to the other side of the country.
It's quite a trip. Yeah.
Yeah, so,
We've got a big country to travel across. That's for sure.
yeah. So, one of the things that I was called to do, and I don't like to use the card to throw out, say, hey, my guides told me this, my guides told me that. Because I think so much information that comes into me, it's more of I get this innate feeling in the center of my heart that there's something here for me to do. And some people call that their divine purpose. You can call it passion. You can call it anything. But for me, it's really a strong desire that I enjoy creating things. I enjoy creating experiences for people, and I've always had that passion. So I really wanted to make something monumental and take all of these little bits and pieces, put them into this great melting pot, and create this wonderful experience. So I thought of that started to roll, and I'm like, I'm gonna step out on a limb. I'm gonna trust in the universe that this is the right path for me, the right time, and I'm just gonna go out and I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna bring this new energy into the East Coast, and I didn't have all the parts and pieces together. Really, it wasn't like, okay, here's the Excel spreadsheet.
Right.
That's what I need. These are the line items. These are the people. I started out with this, and it was
The
kind of
idea. Yeah.
yeah,
The
and it's kind
seed.
of oh,
It's interesting. That's how a lot of things start. I mean, I resonate with what you're saying. I mean, yeah, on the East Coast subject, yes, of course. Naturally, it seems that most of the retreats and such in the the self improvement, the spirituality, and the other communities that are kind of lateral, adjacent, etc. They tend to be on the West Coast. I mean, that's always kind of been the case. There's nothing ever happening on the East Coast, but yeah, it's for people like for Glenn and I, who live on the East Coast and are partaking in lifestyles where we're in some way, shape, or form trying to help people involved with concepts of ascension, the new earth, light language, and things that might not be as prominent on the East Coast in the general zeitgeist as they are in, say, Los Angeles or the Mount Shasta area or, the San Francisco Bay Area, etc. I agree. I think there's a lot of people who feel that pull that you're talking about. And I've always felt the same way where I feel uncomfortable using the terms like my guides told me this or I had a download that this or whatever, but I do identify with the terminology. And the funny part is I actually really do believe in, soul theory and the general theory behind having spirit guides and the soul family and things like that. I don't claim to know everything, but I just kind of believe if I have a feeling that that's something like that's going on. But yeah, I don't like to say my guide's this, my anything that. It's just I always use the term pulled. I'm just pulled toward in what it is. Doesn't usually have a definition. Like you said, it's usually just kind of just a something pulled. It might
right.
be even just pulled away from something. Then it manifests, and here you are now. You've got a retreat to promote, so congratulations, even just for being where you're at the moment. That's important to recognize. Just where you're at now, you should be congratulated.
Thank you. I appreciate that. When I spent the last 3 decades, maybe a little bit more, studying and learning about all different types of things that are spiritually related. And you see on my table, I've got crystals, all different types of things, plants. I've learned about flower essences, Egyptian
Incorporated
history,
some things into
Masonic
your daily
history,
life.
and Samalar. I mean, I've gone down just about every rabbit hole, and I've been so very blessed and grateful that I've had the experience to work with some of these prolific thought leaders, religious, not religious, but spiritual leaders, change agents, on an ongoing basis. And
Absolutely.
I've learned so much from them. And I like to consider myself, even with all of the knowledge I have, I consider myself a perpetual student. Because the moment I think that I got a handle on something, I'm like, oh, I just mastered this, I feel really good about this, then comes something more. That either comes as a challenge or it comes in this unique synchronicity, or like, I thought I knew everything about this, but then there's something else about it.
Just then.
So, it's a very humbling experience and a very enlightening experience. That's the way that you view it.
Yeah,
You don't have to put
100%.
polarity meter to the other side. Just look at his life. Just gained another experience that afforded me a new knowledge, whether it be positive or negative. And it affords me to take that knowledge and raise my awareness and use that going forward.
100%. And I like, I even go further. I'm not perfect, but when I dealing with similar, thought processes, I try not to think in terms of things being positive or negative anymore. I mean, it's hard for me not to, in the time, something bad happens. And of course, it's hard to see the bigger picture right away. But I mean, a lot of negatives can turn into positives. It's healthy for me to just look at things that happen as if, assuming I'm living, positively, and I'm not doing obvious things that are causing bad consequences. I mean, that's a little different. But I I have a little bit of faith that the things that happen in my life when I'm living with, just true, authentic intent, and I'm following what I believe to be the right path based on exactly where I am at the moment in my learning process, which is, like you said, ever learning. I also consider myself a lifelong learner. I love the quote. I'm probably paraphrasing and I'm forgetting who said it, but it's something to the effect of, the more I learn, the more I realize
The
I
less I
know
know.
nothing, just
It's
so
so
much
true.
more.
It's so true,
You
isn't
could,
it?
it's so true. You could never stop asking, but why? But
Right.
why? And
You
but
feel
why?
like
You
that
just,
little kid that's tagging on somebody's parent. But why? Why? Why, Daddy?
yeah.
Why can't? What's this? What?
And yeah,
What's funny is we need to keep asking those questions.
yeah. Why did we
Because
stop
that's
when we were four? Like we
where the
should have
growth
kept asking
comes.
why.
When we stop asking, we're like, oh, I know this. Hey, I can share. I want to do this. There's always more, right?
100%.
And,
Always.
we're in a limitless place. So if we believe that we're limitless, then we have to put on that limitless cap and say, all right, what else do I not know about this?
And it's a bit of a metaphorical trust fall into, trusting in, some people call it a power greater than themselves or the group or the collective consciousness or their God or the universe. I mean, there's a million ways you could put it. But I guess it's ultimately, there's definitely an element of just simply letting go of full-blown control of everything. Of course, you always have choices, you always have free will, but never have full control over absolutely every situation because there's other people playing this game with us. There's other souls out there that we're going to interact with. And our interactions, our ways of, responding to those things and what we put out into the world as energy really is the essence of who we are. And especially for men, I see a resurgence. I don't know, I want to say a resurgence, but I see an uptick in, it doesn't seem to be the woke agenda of, men taking on feminine identities, but more what I consider the idea of men taking on the ability to understand both their divine feminine and their divine masculine qualities, rather than cutting it so dry and genderless society and all that. That's not what I'm talking about. But I think it's important. I mean, it was something for me where I always wore, masks and, I just kind of tried to play the typical character, the archetype of the traditional Western masculine American male. And not that's a bad thing. And that still is, I'm not gonna lie, it's like a lot. still a part of my personality. There's still things that I like that would be associated with that kind of thing, that, just masculinity or whatever. But to get to a place where I felt truly myself and truly comfortable and truly, okay with everything, and really to take that trust fall into like living a life of service, even when I'm not 100% sure how things are going to go or if they're even going to work out. Just living in a way where I know I feel like I'm always doing the right thing.
Right.
I had to go through a path of, and I didn't like know it at the time. It wasn't a label, but it was definitely a time of, you know, I guess for lack of a better description, just exploring who is Tyler, like at his core, because we put on so many hats and so many costumes over the course of our lives, and we get into our 20s and 30s and onward, and it's like dyeing your hair your entire life and forgetting what your original hair color was. There's a process of getting back to self before you're ready to, I mean, at least before I was ready to really like, and I'm never, like I said, never done. But before I felt even anything close to ready to put myself out there and be in a position to, whether it be help people, share my gifts, give others a platform, I had to be okay with me first. And that, unfortunately, for my upbringing was like confronting some things that weren't typically super masculine, talking about my feelings and things like that. But I think the power of men sharing that with other men in a proper way, and things like at like retreats like yours where you learn concepts like that and heart-centric activities, so important, and so happy to see them become a part of the zeitgeist.
Yeah,
I love it.
Tyler, you hit the nail on the head. Men are changing, and I think it's for the better. I like to believe that there are people like us that are starting to become more open to what's inside our heart. And that is our true essence. That's where our true essence resides. It's not. This is the ego is where we're thinking like, okay, what mask do I need to survive for this person? What mask do I need to wear for this relationship? What mask do I need to do for this particular event or for this? How do I want to be portrayed? And I think we're starting to lose that. The more that we realize what's here in our heart, that's just into the new bravery within man, we come vulnerability. The ability to show who we truly are without the fear of being judged, without the fear of being, executed for expressing ourselves in a heartfelt way, in a caring and nurturing way. And that's accepting the feminine divinity that resides within us.
It is. It's a part of it. That's amen.
So,
Absolutely.
these are opportunities for us today to become the people that are demonstrating this. And hopefully others will follow, and see that I don't have to put on that mask. I don't have to act like that big, tough, and rough guy. I don't have to act that way. All of that energy and that's identity.
Yeah,
Create
energy.
something that isn't really you.
And it could be used.
That really is, designed deep within your heart. Like, yeah, maybe you're a person that enjoys the botanical garden, or really appreciates butterflies, or has a very special connection with animals, but just likes to be compassion. Those are all great qualities, and you cannot hide that behind like, I gotta prepare here I am.
Certain scenarios.
I gotta have this career that I'm a businessman.
Can't show that. Can't show the feelings.
I came from the fire service, so my working career was a career firefighter.
Rather traditionally masculine environment.
Very, I would assume. Bravado. Here we are. We're here to save the day, no matter what.
Yeah,
we get this done, no matter what. And that's all well included in the moment, right? That's the type of person you want in the moment when your life
there's a fire
is going to, nanosecond by nanosecond. You want that, right?
Right.
Now, that doesn't mean that you have to wear that mask all the rest of the 24 hours of the day.
Absolutely.
Right. That's not not everybody is like that, anyway. And I certainly wasn't like that. I was different.
Of course.
One of the things that I did when I was in the fire service is that at the end of the night, typically after dinner, when we all worked together, we cleaned up, in that communal aspect of fire service. Um, the nights would be free, less that we were free about, we're called, well, you got what you do and you go. So I spent most of my time in my bunk, sitting on my bed, either meditating, reflecting, reading, or listening to, somebody speak about how to become better, how to change your life. Because I really enjoyed all of the excitement, the adrenaline of the fire service, the ability of, doing some incredibly unhuman things to the human body, and
Absolutely.
and having, the community to grow in it, but
100%.
dare not start speed from the fire.
Right.
And say,
Yeah.
hey guys, you're the
I gotta
best, and I
get
love
this off my
fire so
chest,
much,
guys.
and you mean the world to me, and I so appreciate you for having that might be said at a bar after you had,
After that 7 or 8
7 or 8
drinks, yeah.
cocktails, and then you get all kind of mushy. But you wouldn't
Right.
dare say
But
that
it's not to be
in the realm of
spoken of
service.
again. Yeah. I hear you there. Yeah, and you were a firefighter for quite some time, right? Is that correct?
Yeah,
Or
I
or
started
close to it anyway?
my emergency services career off at the right age of 20 years old. I
Okay.
started off as a part-time police officer. I went to law enforcement for a little bit, spent 7 years in that career, and I really enjoyed the career of law enforcement, but I didn't like the fact that every time that I was out of uniform, I felt like I had a target on my back. People would always say, "Oh, this guy's not for him. Be careful what you say."
Yeah, I
And
suppose.
I
I
didn't
mean,
like
just
that. I'm like, I'm me. Just because this is what I do doesn't mean that,
like I'm not on duty right now. I'm not out
right.
right?
So,
And yes, it's different for every cop. But yeah, I
yeah,
mean, just as a non-police officer, I guess I can identify with that a little bit. That, I guess people do. I've heard people have that mentality that, like, when they find out somebody is a police officer, a lot of people don't care. But
right,
I have heard people react in that manner where they're like, I didn't know he was a cop. You kind of
right.
wonder, like, why do they even care? But yeah, I mean, I guess it does happen. There's some people who have a negative sentiment towards cops and the police officers or law enforcement of any sort. I mean, in this country anyway. I mean, it's just the state we've found ourselves in this current timeline. Exactly. To point it out, it's not everybody's the same. That's not always the way it is, and
Right.
not everybody's at work all the time.
It was funny, and I should have got this right off the bat. And this is, we'll take this in life where you look back on your life retrospectively. Like, I only had one person that I was friends with as a police officer who was another police officer, and everybody else, he was fired. And so my friends were like, one other cop and one fire. I'm like, all right, so I should have listened, early on and just gone for the fire service path.
Just skip the
Right,
police
skip all
chapter and went
that.
right to the fire.
But I did transition, and I think I was about 26 when I transitioned into the fire service. And I thought, this is much better. I feel that I can serve people, that I can help, I can do all kinds of incredible things, and still feel good about myself, about what I was doing.
So a
And
much better fit for you.
it was a better fit energetically for me, and I enjoyed it. And throughout my career, I did a very, very deep dive. So I was involved in not only just as a career firefighter EMT, but I served on two technical hazardous materials teams as a technician. And I also served on two technical rescue teams as a high-level technician and a rescue manager. And then went on to even write codes and standards for the fire service in general. That encompasses all fire service across the United States. And
Yeah,
my
that's I think
last year of doing that still, so I still have that last little pinky in the cookie jar. I'm about ready
yeah,
to pull all that
I'm
out.
about ready to pull it out. That's
Yeah.
that's interesting. Yeah, I think I actually I think I heard that or read that somewhere that the firefighter manual, the the general codes and such are pretty unanimous, are pretty consistent across the country. I don't know why I read that, but yeah, it's just a little random fact. I think I saw like a show or something, and well, figured why not confirm it with Glenn? Well, that's pretty. Well, first of all, thank you for your service. I mean, I'm sure you've done a lot of good for a lot of people, faceless people that you don't know who they are, they don't know who you are, but you affected their life in some way in all that time in both industries. I mean, in both careers, law enforcement and even well, probably more so fire, where you seem to find a little more of a connection to your heart and your mission. It sounds like that was a more of a passion for you. But I mean, just want to say, of course, thank you for your public service. Absolutely. I mean, there's, like I've said before, there's plenty of negative sentiment out there about law enforcement, but we do need law enforcement. I mean, let's be serious. And there's always people can change, people can get better. We had that argument a long time ago in this country about people brought up defunding police and such. And my thought on everything is always, can't everything we're humans. Can't we just make things better? Can't we get better at things? I think it's always about that. And it seems to be a little easier on the personal level than it is on the group level. But that's how I kind of try to look at things these days. Like if I can change personally, and I see change in people personally, such profound change in individuals. I know it might be a little more difficult, but I think that could lead to, enough of that could lead to profound change in groups, and then therefore profound change in society. But it all starts with self and getting that feeling that you described, where you felt like you were really of service and really, meshing with what a better feeling than the mismatch of prior. That's great. Obviously, in an industry of service now. Is that I know you transitioned into working, in more kind of the corporate side of things, writing codes and such things like that. Was that like a promotional type of thing? Was that something you wanted to do, or was there any kind of catalyst, an injury, if you don't mind me asking? Just curious.
You know how I got into this? So 4 years ago, I realized that the amount of fires were going down. So that meant that we were actually doing our job really well, right? Structure fires, meaning house fires and things
preventing
like that,
fires in the
were
first
going down.
place.
So with the technology that, smoke detectors and things of that nature, with the teaching and all the public education about, fire education and how to get out, how to be more safe, fires are going down. And I always wanted to, have that moment. I call it the Time magazine moment, where you see the firefighter is all suited up and he's got this child and he's pulling out.
Kid.
It's so dramatic. I don't think I'm ever really going to get that prolific moment. What can I do to really save lives? What can I do to owe to the masses things? And I got into writing standards for the fire service and for some for the hazardous materials chemical industry. I figured at least this way, I can take all of the knowledge, all of the experience, and be a representative of the word of the fire service to other people to help write these codes and standards, to keep people safe, to keep people educated, to even help our fellow, first responders, fire service, police, CMS, to keep them safe to do their job effectively.
Yeah.
So I got into running these codes, and it is a volunteer position. It's not paid. NFPA out of Braintree, Massachusetts, is the consensus standard. So they are ones that write all the standards, even right down to your electrical outlets for, basically North America. North America being Canada, Mexico,
US,
United
Mexico.
States. So that is the government governing body.
Right there out of Braintree.
It's like these are the rules of the road.
Yeah. Okay. And that's right there out of Braintree, Mass.
Braintree, Massachusetts. And the volunteer position. So I became the chairman of this. I've been doing it for literally 20 years. So everything that I do to help write these standards, these rules of the road, is done 100% for free. I've done it for,
For
it actually costs
for
me
the
money.
greater good, of course. Yeah, time is,
Time,
your time's worth something.
travel when we have to go to meetings, to
Of
develop
course.
this, to do, certain tests on certain things. So it was my way to express through my knowledge and my heart that I am doing something to help humanity without having my name in line saying, this fact is this. It was a way to affect 4.3 million firefighters in North America to help keep them safe, to help keep them doing their job, efficiently and effectively without getting hurt or injured.
Right. And without receiving the welcome home parade, standing ovation, that's, I guess there's nothing wrong with feeling good about doing doing good things. But it's, I think it's probably less common for people to do, good things if there's no likelihood of recognition or praise or anything like that. Just theorizing as a species. So, to do something in a voluntary way, especially for such a long time, and to not expect any compensation or praise or anything besides the feeling that you get when you do something, when you contribute something, like you said, you contributed to, and there's an actual number you can put on it. I mean, you contributed to over 4 million firefighters' lives. Like it's a thing that you can quantify. And I think it's great when, at least speaking personally, I wasn't always at a place where I could feel great about something like that. Just for example, I used to want that, and part of me still kind of does. But that moment, that picture, that Time magazine moment, that used to be the driving factor. Just life experience from having metaphorically kind of, had the Time magazine moment and also had the, my version of, doing volunteer work, etc., whatever I've done that's been in the shadows. After doing a lot of work on self and kind of, my story's a little crazy. I left a few different industries, and then when I finally got into what was basically a normal life that everybody thought was pretty normal and sustainable and proud of, I had that classic wake up, and I left my career, and it wasn't like I fell apart and started doing anything bad. I just started seeking self really hard. I had a really, they refer to it as the dark night of the soul. I just really began seeking inward, really reflecting upon my life, and, reading and meditating and doing spiritual work and participating in different types of energy healing and things like that, all the different things that people can partake in. I've done some ceremonial use of plant medicine. There's all sorts of things that I have utilized. Honestly, the biggest thing personally to me is meditation. I believe in meditation. It's probably the most important thing that I do. And what started to happen for me was meditation stopped being a chore, and they started to be something that I really looked forward to, and something
Yes.
that I didn't put a time on, something that sometimes could last for hours in a certain state that felt so great for no real reason other than just being present in the moment. And then, after that kind of process of really breaking down my old self and leaving the title, the vice president title, the lead of sales title, all that stuff that comes with like a decent career once you've worked in an industry for a certain amount of time. That stuff didn't matter anymore. And what felt good was when the second version of Glenn's what he just said there, the part where doing things that might not even go recognized, but I know that somebody's being impacted, somebody's being helped, somebody might benefit in the future, maybe one person might be saved later, anything like that started to be just like you said there. It was much more fulfilling, much more chaseable than the Time magazine moment. And that's how I live now. And it's more exciting because there's less of a plan, there's less of a rigid structure to that path, because there's so many different ways to get to the point where you're helping people and yourself, and you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. That can look at an infinite amount of ways.
One of the things that people ask me is, like, they say, well, I see you do great work. What's great work? They're like, one of the most important things I say is, do you remember a while back, and this is probably back in the early 80s, maybe somewhere around the 90s, that they used to get a commercial of this American Indian on a canoe going down the river, and you would look at the riverbank and see that there was trash on the riverbank. And there was a movement to help clean up the earth, and it showed a picture of the Native American crying because it was sad that the planet was being hurt. And when somebody takes the initiative to do something small, it's like, oh, that doesn't look right, right? The side of the world doesn't look right, but all that stuff would fluctuate a big while. You'd be doing great work. And you could be as expansive as some of the great work that, if you're at the ability to sense energy, see energy, feel energy
Yeah.
in a way that you can manipulate it, then you're doing good work to bring in certain lights, certain frequencies, certain elements, and it's
Activate
still helping
certain
other Earth. And the
dormant
great effect on
DNA and
that
such.
is endless. So I like to say, you got the pedal by that initial thought and your action or doing something, or demonstrating, facilitating something in some way. You don't ever see the end of that ripple effect. And that's, whether it be volunteering, whether it be, your podcast here today is creating a ripple effect. Because we
Never
don't
know.
know who's going to reach it, who's going to see it, who's going to say, oh, I never thought about that.
Of course.
And all of a sudden, the light switch goes on to like, that makes sense to me. I'm going to do something about that
100%.
today. My thought is different today than it was yesterday. My perspective is different than it was yesterday.
Absolutely.
And we can't see the end. And that's the beauty. The
That's
beauty
the
is
whole
knowing that
point.
there is no end. So whatever act of kindness you're doing, act of generosity, that heartfelt expression is just beautiful. Because we know there's no end to it. We just have to keep stepping into that. Stepping
true.
into.
And I like the analogy of you never see the end of the ripple of the pebble dropped. I mean,
Right.
you're in the now. I mean, that's the whole point. I think is, yeah, of course, the future is not known just via nature of there being so many paths one can take to be. There is no quote unquote right way. There's many ways. There's infinite ways, and like not to be repetitive, but with that comes an unknown future inherently. To me, that keeps me in the now. If I don't know the path, if I don't know what's exactly is coming, I mean, that removes one variable. The other one would be the past that is blocking me from staying truly present in the moment. If I don't have to worry so much about the future, because it's not that one might think you'd worry more about the future if you don't know what's going to happen, wouldn't you? Like, maybe for some people, but no, I'm excited. I don't want to know. If I knew everything that was going to happen for the rest of my experience in this meat suit as Tyler and this soul in this lifetime, whatever we're doing, I, I
It was
think
the
that'd be
impact
quite
out of it.
boring. Why would I want to watch that movie? Maybe I want to watch it back at the end, but I don't want to see what my whole rest of my life's going to be like. So I think actually it's a beautiful way of looking at things, of just not, of knowing that you can just stay in the now, or you can keep being that pebble that drops, that you're just constantly making small ripples and waves, whether it be to individuals, to groups, whether it's on a new podcast such as this one, which is, I mean, we're a new show. We're getting a little bit of growth, which is great. I'm really grateful for it, and I hope that we'll continue to grow, and we'll be a little bit more of a name, so we can spread more positivity later. But whether it's on a small show like this, or if it's on the Joe Rogan Experience, or if it's on a stage at a conference, I mean, there's always the chance that that ripple, that little pebble drop, that one person, that just one individual heard the thing they needed to hear, that watered that seed just enough to make them maybe take action.
Mm.
It's just always that belief in the possibility of the miracle that I always tell people, like, you're always one phone call, one meeting, one action, one trip out of your house away from your whole entire life changing. It sounds crazy and it sounds bad when you're, going through a depressive time and things aren't going well for you, but it's true. I mean, it depends on who you are, but
Right.
and that phone call is different, but it's absolutely true. I mean, one event, one thing, one day, and it doesn't have to be a day, it could be a moment. It could absolutely change the entire trajectory of your life.
Right.
I've had moments like that. Have you
I'd
had
like
any
to say that,
major?
our life is like we have a blueprint in our life, and I might be dating myself a little bit, but I like to use the analogy is our life is like a pinball shape, right? So you know where the ball drops, and you know where the ball comes back into the pocket when the game is over, right?
Yeah, it's
But
true.
it takes all this movement, and sometimes it's
So,
thrown up, sometimes it's thrown down, sometimes you hit the poker just right, and you score, sometimes you don't, and it goes somewhere else.
but it comes,
And you can't
it goes
predict it.
on.
It just keeps going on.
Yeah,
But you know that
it's not a
in that
bad
blueprint,
analogy.
I'm gonna start here, and I'm gonna end up here, and even that's not really the end, because there is no
True.
end.
There is no true end. I mean, that's not my belief anyway. I've actually had experiences, clinically where I've came very close to the end. I mean, I've always lived a life kind of close to the edge. I have had, near death experiences. I mean, they've been extremely impactful. I've heard them described by others and such, but it really is something that changes your paradigm. I mean, it's you're not life anymore, and then all of a sudden it feels like you've come up out of the water for air, and your life was you being underwater holding your breath. Apparently, while you're lying there lifeless and your heart's not beating and there's no brain activity, what's going on in my experience is lasting for, who knows, time's not real, but it seems to be quite some time. And
Right.
in this place that's I can breathe and I can see and it's infinite and all that. And then, it's time to come back. It's not time to go yet.
Still,
But then that's the overwhelming feeling. Well, there's still more to do. Like it's not, oh, I want to go back to that place. Like, I should just die. That's not the thought. It's been this overwhelming. There's so much more to do. There's so much more to do. There's never a point where you've hit stop and you've done enough. Not, bash like anybody who's just chilling retired, but I mean, there's always something to do. No matter what you're doing, if you think it doesn't have an effect, I think everything has effects, large or small.
probably much like yourself, I've had very similar experiences of being extremely close to what we would call the end, and as in my career, I experienced many people making their transition and doing our best to help people sustain their life, and that just wasn't the choice or the circumstance in the moment.
Yeah. It's not something that we control, but it's also not something I think we're meant to control or fully understand in full capacity. There's only so far we can go with that until the higher
Once we
being
get
takes over.
that deeper resonance between the fact of who we are experiencing this life and our higher self, that is the guiding force, so to
Kind of
speak, or creator of the
reconnecting.
blueprint, then I think that's where we're all going today. We're realizing that, hey, Tyler's much more than just this, beautiful person that's sitting in this male presence and front of today, doing this amazing podcast.
We all are.
Tyler's much, much bigger and bigger. He's such a cool dude. He's got all of this going on. He's got these great energies about him. He's got this also sincerity. There's other parts of you. And then you think about, hey, well, there's other parts of me that may not be connected in this particular timeline that are also experiencing or also
Absolutely.
influencing. And I'm influencing that timeline as well.
100%. Yeah, there's so much going into what makes the self, and I think ties right back into the never stop asking why, the never stop seeking
Right.
thing, because the more the people ask me, they say, so have you met your higher self yet? And I always find that question to be a little bit silly. I mean, it's okay, but nothing's silly. I don't like to make fun of anybody. I think anybody's beliefs, as long as they are not hurting anybody and it's helping them get along. I really don't like to bash people and their beliefs and things. People go through their own choices and their own lessons, and who am I to say? But when I'm like approached with a question like, have you met your higher self? It's kind of like yes and no. I mean, kind of, but that's almost, I don't know if one can truly know their higher self, because there's always more. There's always more I could know
Right.
about the true nature of who I am right now in this Tyler avatar, who is Glenn
Right.
right now in his Glenn suit. Well, there's just, you could have had the most amazing reckonings with self and had the most amazing realizations, but are they ever done? I don't think they really are. And that's why like things like your Stargate Crusader, retreat that's coming up, so that for people to go
Right.
and that's another thing. I like to use the term trust fall, but that's another little trust fall one takes into developing into further self. I mean, isn't that what your retreat is? Kind of it's a unity thing.
Right.
It's a lot of people, not a lot of people, but a fair group of people working together to understand self, but in a group setting. I mean, in a way where there's other people there, because correct me if I'm wrong, but I think, when we kind of strip our attachments, when we strip our egos, when we strip our cell phones and all the stuff that we, the modern conveniences and the typical, you just, nothing bad about those things. When we strip all that stuff away, I think we all have a lot more in common than we think. And we certainly have a lot more in common than we have different.
Right. It gives us the opportunity to experience someone else's life and how it relates to us. And, this particular retreat, there's only 34 guest spots, and we have, 8 presenters. So that's pretty close match. It's pretty well.
Yeah, it's great.
So, the way that I designed this is to create a community between the presenters and the guests, that we will be co-creating, co-mingling in energy, co-healing. So the way that we set the agenda out is the first day is all about integrating different healing modalities. It's about shedding the layers of ourselves that are no longer in service to us, shedding the paradigms, the thought patterns, the habits that are no longer serving to us. So it's about stripping down to get to the essence of who we are within our hearts, so we can reveal that. And when we do that, we get this new energy that keeps coming up, right?
Absolutely.
And scientifically speaking, when we do that, we're building a royal field, and it comes from our heart. And as we do this, our field becomes bigger. And when we do this in a group setting, we start to have this communal toroidal field, and we're changing energy.
Yeah.
Think, okay, that's pretty cool. You got 34 people, you got 8 presenters. You're creating this toroidal field. But remember what I said earlier about that ripple effect.
Of
Right?
course.
So
Absolutely.
we're creating this great front center field around all of us. But we're doing it very specifically, very methodically. We're doing it on a land that
Specifically
is
with
on a ley
intent.
line. So we're increasing that. So not only are we increasing the level of energy, the level of our essence and clarity within ourselves, but we're also feeding the collective with that particular positive energy.
100%.
They were doing it here on the East Coast. When we were doing it here on the East Coast, we're changing the collective energy of the East Coast.
Absolutely. And we're honoring, Mother Earth, which, something you mentioned earlier, I mean, that was something that Yeah, I was, a little younger in the 90s and such, but I still remember, of course, those movements of, actually started. It was coming back to me when you were describing the commercial, and then you're halfway through, and I'm like, got it. The ads with the Native American crying in the trash and the Mother Earth movements and stuff. I do believe, and I've heard this from like a lot of channelers and people who just, people who discuss this kind of topic, people who do regression hypnotherapy, who speak to people who are under hypnosis, people who, yeah, have access to that kind of, knowledge. Take it for what it's worth, of course. I'm not telling you what to believe in, anyone out there. But what I'm hearing is that Mother Earth is a feminine spirit by nature. It's why we call her Mother Earth or Mother Gaia. She kind of hurt. Her feelings are kind of hurt. Like we've kind of hurt her feelings. We've kind of taken advantage of what Mother Earth provides to us, and we've kind of made a system out of it that I don't know that if Mother Earth had like a conscious decision or vote in it, that she would be, utilized as she is as a planet. She might have a better plan that's a little more sustainable for herself. I don't know. But I think by spreading out and gathering and bringing these collective consciousness together and in such a way where we're, more heart centric and authentic, which is powerful. On ley lines in Connecticut rather than it all happening, for example, at Mount Shasta, California, which is naturally a very, very paranormal hotspot. Like many places in this world, I personally believe that there are places on this earth that were once and maybe still are, utilized for purposes of higher energy for their specific location, them being specific points on the grid, them being specific ley lines, etc. I mean, I do think there is some sense to that, some of those theories and some of the ancient architecture and such that's been left behind. We're seeing kind of an unfolding of that really just in the past few years with people going on digs and dating things to a time that we don't really have written history on, which is just enough to open up a few minds and hearts and eyes to maybe the next step and authentic, seeking that self. Meditation. I wanted to ask you. I know that you said that you were meditating and all that, and I also know that I think Glenn and I have spoken a little bit before, but I think you mentioned that you've done some work with Dr. Joe Dispenza. I know he's very well known right now in the the spirituality communities and meditation communities for some of the things that he's doing. He does walking meditations. A lot of people have heard a story from him. It's funny, my sister actually came over the other day and told me, hey, I heard a story about this guy who had a spinal injury and he meditated and fixed it and he healed himself. Have you ever heard of that guy? Yeah, she was speaking about Dr. Joe Dispenza, and that's, so the legend goes. How big of a role does meditation play in your life? Is that really something that's important to you? And to piggyback off that, what do you
It's
think about meditating to heal
super,
and
super
our
important.
ability to do that?
And I want to express that there's so many different ways to meditate. So when we meditate, we're separating all of our surroundings, right? Our external perception. So you're focusing inside, right? And that doesn't necessarily mean that I have to be in the lotus position, sitting.
Right.
That is a way
Have
of
to keep the
achieving
fingers
meditation.
like this. People get too hung up on the details, I think. Sorry to cut you
Right.
off there, but yeah.
Meditation can be as simple as picking up that, feather strap. Just start going, all right, feel it. I feel this groove, I feel this music, and I'm just working out this riff. I'm really into it.
It is. I agree.
Right? You're getting into to that rhythm.
The
All of a sudden,
runners, the
time's
quote
just going
unquote
by and you don't know.
runner's high or whatever, and
You're
I've
in meditation.
experienced that. Absolutely. It is a meditation.
You get into this creative mode where you could be writing, you could be, typing, you could be, physically handwriting. And you're just doing this, and you're taking your thoughts in, you're in meditation.
I like that, and
It doesn't have to be that, I need quiet, I need, binaural beats, I need, a sterile place. I don't
I
want my
need a
children to be,
mat. I can crisp everything.
kind of
That
forget,
stuff's great.
no. You meditated so many times, you just didn't know you were doing it.
Right. Amen. This is great. This is great stuff. I agree with you. Meditation is a state of being, and what do we do when we actually sit down to meditate, like with the intention to meditate? We're sitting with, I mean, I don't have any expectation out of meditation. It's just something that I do, and I'm aware that I do it many times throughout the day, even without knowing. But I do practice, like, in the morning I wake up and I do kind of a short meditation, and usually in the evening I do a little bit longer, deeper meditation, where sometimes I'll actually, spend quite a bit of time in a trance state.
Yep.
But I don't ever put any expectation on the, meditating. It's just sitting. It's always just sitting and starting with quieting the mind and just being with. The goal is to sit there and just with no expectations, have a reckoning with self, just and be present in the now. And that could expose itself in so many different ways. And it does happen when you're on a run, or when you're on a bicycle, or when you're,
Or
you're
having your friends and you're laughing and you're like, just,
time is flying by.
being goofy,
Yeah,
silly, and having a good time. And you're like, God, it's like, it's doing already. How did that happen?
100%. Right.
You're
You're in
into
what are you doing? You're
moments.
in the moment. You're in the present. And it's not worried. Yeah, that's what a great meditation is for me, when I do go and like sit in half lotus and put on, some frequency music, or yeah, I even do. Actually, it's funny you said that. I do utilize binaural beats quite a
Yeah.
bit. Those are all great tools, but yeah, the goal is to be present in the now, and really that's it. That's kind of the only goal, and it's, it isn't even like you want to place a goal on it.
Right.
It's just presence now, oneness. That happens. That's it. I love that you pointed that out. That happens to most of us. I mean, unless we have, to those out there who are going through states of depression,
Yeah.
etc.
Even that, you
There's
could
help
be in
out
a
there
moment
for you.
still. You could be in the moment of a lower vibration and still be meditative about it. And what that brings to you is awareness.
Of course.
You could just
Absolutely.
see with an emotion. You're feeling it. You're allowing it to be experienced. That also offers you a decision to say, okay, I'm done with that. Right? I've
100%.
experienced that. My body's experienced it. And that awareness brings you to the choice point of like, okay, does this feel good to my body? Does it feel good to who I am? Does this feel good to, as part of the ultimate expression of who I am? And it might be in a moment, but that moment can change too, right?
Moments pass. Absolutely.
Right. So now it's time to experience something new. And, that's one of the things I like to, share and teach with my clients and the groups. How to get out of those moments? How do we
Because
change
it can
that?
feel like a
We're
loop.
so wound around the axle, so to speak, right? We're so tightly wrapped. How do we get around those moments, right? And I like to use a scientific method because I know that it works. So we downregulate the nervous system. We get out of that fight or fight, that run, fight,
Of course.
or hide, and we switch that. We change that by downregulating the nervous system. We slow our breath down, and we center our focus in our heart. And really, by your tap touching your physical heart, it's a good way to, if you say, "Oh, I'm going to put my
Tap
awareness
on
on
the
the heart,"
heart
I don't know how to
space.
do that. Well, by physically taking your hand and putting it right over your heart, now place your focus on your heart. And you just slowly breathe down about 5 seconds in and 5 seconds out. But in order that you do that, you create something called resilience. It's basically a shelf life of positivity. So when you start to do that, you get into this practice of doing that, and no matter what, you don't have to be in a negative state. You can just practice this state. It creates something called heart brain coherence.
Right. I've heard the term
Right.
heart brain
And
coherence.
so you hear some of these people talk about what is, the coherence state. there's a difference between the coherence of the brain. That means all of the brainwave signals are without distortion. So if you look at it in the nice clean waves, and then there's coherence sense from the heart and brain, and that is the physical neurological connection between the physical heart and the physical brain. Now, scientifically, we know that the heart has 43 million neurons. Well, you have over 100 million neurons in your brain. So that means that there's intelligence and there's memory. So when you start to double the intensity of what you can by going into this coherent state, you're now using that human technology that resides within every human being, regardless color, race, creed, any belief, any of that.
Right.
It's all in
Got
you.
it.
When you do that, you are creating heart-brain coherence. And that is the same as meditation. When you're laughing, when you're having fun, when you're in the moment, you're creating that moment purposely, with intention.
So
That is the precipice of having these mystical experiences, because now you're starting to utilize more than just the brain, you're using the heart and the brain together. And that's one of the things that we get to teach and share. And, I'm my own scientist, and I love to see where can I put this stuff in my life to better the day, better my experiences, better my health. And, I firmly believe that's how Dr. Joe healed himself. I had a similar back injury, and that's how I healed myself by doing these particular practices. And I use it, like
That's incredible.
That's my meditation. Even
It's
though everybody's
absolutely
doing their crazy stuff around me, the music's blasting, somebody's
right. Yeah.
dropping 300 pounds on the floor, and I'm in my meditation. I'm in my space. I'm in my
Yeah.
zen. I'm just doing my thing. And I'm using that coherent heart rate technology to do things that I never thought my mind could do.
Absolutely. And it's funny, I see as someone we mentioned you mentioned binaural beats earlier, and it's something that I use because not all the time, but it's something that I use occasionally because, what the heck? I mean, it's a tool. But there's in that world, in the binaural beat world, there's a whole lot of advertisement, and some of it's
expensive. Someone's got some validity to it.
Right,
You got to use
exactly.
this to store fruit.
But there's a lot that mentions that it will bring heart-brain cohesion. That's these are beats that will bring heart-brain cohesion. Actually, I've actually seen that term. The connection between the heart space and the mind. Some terminology regarding that, and it's it's interesting. And I've heard others speak on that being something in regards to there's the ultimate place to operate from is when you are fully connected heart and mind space at the same time, and that's when you're at your most authentic. I've heard things said like that, so it's it's just
right.
What's special about what I do, what I personally enjoy out of it, or one of the things anyways, I get to talk to different people who are from different places and different walks of life, but who have somehow found a similar, at least, ethos when it comes to servitude and spirituality and the search for self. And I guess the big common thread is just realizing that, well, we are a soul. We're special. We have a higher self, and we're all here for something. We're not nothing. We're valuable, and we can always improve. We can always grow. Nothing is completely out of reach. You're never just stuck at your seat. There's no ceiling that you're stuck at. Everybody has the ability to change right now with choices. I mean, it's choices. Yeah, I mean, Glenn didn't get to where he is today by, just like rolling into it carefree. There was tough times, and I'm sure there was tough choices.
I wish. I am so blessed and grateful for the hardships, the challenges, falling down and having to get up multiple times, because it wouldn't allow me to be in this moment today if I didn't. And I've had some, nose to the ground and then my nose shoved in it many times in my life, in many different ways. And I'm grateful for that, because those hard moments brought something to me. They brought me an understanding. They brought me another perspective. They brought me to a deeper level of compassion for others who are having difficulty in their lives. It brought me real world experience where I can say I have worn that set of shoes before. And I can say that from authenticity. Sign that. I've worn that, I see it, I've lived it, and I lived in the midst of that through all of my emergency services life. I've lived through people's darkest moments all the time.
Yeah,
And
that's true.
it's brought a lot of humility to me and an appreciation for life and understanding the fragility of that. You know, even as much as I know I am, like I said, I'm still a perpetual student of learning. And I'm very, very, very grateful to have those tough moments because they made me who I am today.
Those are the big learning moments, really.
They are. They are. It shows us how strong we really are. How
reminds us how much
resilience we really have.
like resilience, absolutely.
How much we can find positivity in the
Where we
vastness
can,
of limitation.
very well said, where how our ability to find the light within darkness and what we even perceive to be as darkness.
Right.
A lot of times dark incidences, bad occurrences, negative events can really be the catalyst for us to change our verbiage, our paradigm, our perception, and therefore our life.
I can feel it, for me, I get this feeling in my heart comes right up to my throat. The top of my ground starts to light up, and I feel like a thread connection. And it's like, you turn it on, you turn it on. So
well, feel free to do some
light
if
language.
you want to do a little channeling, you certainly can. We are always happy to have people with gifts showcase those gifts on this show. We're all about light language and channeling and any gift that anybody has. So you're in a safe space, my friend.
I'd love to share a light language message because it's like, God, it's right here. So
yeah, it's right there in the
way I
throat.
receive it is I receive the light language first, so it'll come out in your auditory, and you'll see my hands do all kinds of weird stuff. And then the message gets dropped behind that.
That's great. So this is awesome, and it's like a live download and light language right now. I think that's amazing.
Positive for anybody who has the opportunity to do this, either at a moment or weeks, months, years down the road. So
I agree.
Let this fly online. That's how continue on that. I feel so emotional because this is very, very heart centered.
It's okay.
To all of you for the hardships, the times where you have self doubt, the moments that you stand on a cliff, decide if this is your last moment or your first moment of something different. You want to let you know that you are loved no matter what your choice may be, no matter what your path is. You are loved. You are supported. Sometimes you can't see us and we can't feel us. And you think you are a silo, that you are staying alone, but you are supported, that we do support you in your life, your energy. You love me unconditionally. We guide you, no matter your choice. Whichever way the pendulum polarity may swing, you will always love you unconditionally. Thank you, and I love you.
Thank you, Spirit, for that message.
That is from the angelic realm.
Thank you, Glenn, for being the channel to channel that message. I know it takes a lot out of people, and that's what I love doing about this. I love about doing this show, Glenn, is my viewers are people who do and practice and are full believers in light language and the ability to reach trance states and things like that. But there's also a lot of them out there who have been very surprised to see people like me, go into a trance state due to light language, or somebody like such as yourself perform a download that they receive and become actually just feasibly emotional over it. It's a bridge. It's a bridge to people who may be able to connect better with you or yourself or myself or
Right. And the message,
whoever it
the
might
message is
be,
what's important.
it's just the message is what's important. So I always like to say thank you for just one, always to the higher spirit, but thank you for being the channel, because
Clear. I am
it
just
can
the
be a lot.
conduit.
It can be a lot, even in the moment, just to receive certain downloads of sorts. Um, it just can be, that connection to the higher realms, where it's coming from. I've experienced it with, the different types of healings that I've been through, and it can certainly be very emotional. So thank you again for sharing. So, Glenn, I want to remind everybody when your retreat is coming up. What are the dates of that? I know
Right.
you've got, and you can tell us some of the presenters that are going to be there.
Sure.
If you want to say anything about that,
I
we'll
love
make
to.
sure.
And thank you for that opportunity. The dates are July 14th, 15th, and 16th in Madison, Connecticut. And it is going to be Stargate Crusader. So STARGATE Crusader, CRUSADER.com. You can find us on the web. You can find us on any social media platform. Stargate Crusader. And, we have just an amazing star team of people that will be interacting with you personally. So this is not a stage on the stage. We're off the stage and we're out. We're back doing our own stuff. We will
Yeah,
be communing together. We'll be eating together. We'll be doing everything except sleeping in the same
in
bed
the
for the whole
same
time.
giant bed.
So this is the opportunity. If you wanted to see blah blah blah. I wanted to get to know blah blah blah. This is your
Yeah,
opportunity to sit down and have such a heartfelt conversation. We will have Debbie Solaris, the Galactic
right.
Astronomer.
Yeah,
She is
she's
a
incredible.
super human being.
She's a
So heart-centered.
wonderful person, such a great soul.
My dear
Absolutely.
brother and closest friend, Tony Dosney, is the entire heart who connects with the Max being collective.
Yeah, he's
Just an
a
amazing
very
soul, amazing
great
human
person
being.
as well. Absolutely. Yeah.
My good brothers, Rock Gauthier, the ET.
Okay. Yeah,
And
I watch him. I watch his, his videos and his, talks and things that he does. That's really cool. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
he's thriller. Tyler Ellison, who channels rock.
Okay.
Another great brother friend of mine, Nicolette Morgan. She channels the Hybrid Children Collective. She's also a sound healer and speaks light language. I'm going to read all that with her.
Excellent.
Stephanie Tornatore, who is a sound frequency healer and also the divine channel of this infinite frequency. And one of my first mentors and phenomenal teacher who does past life regressions and past life regression healing. His name is Michael Rosenbaum.
So it sounds like you got a great lineup there. That's awesome. Yeah, some of those names are actually quite have made quite an impact, especially over the past few years in the general spirituality growth, channeling, disclosure. Actually, a lot of different little communities. The Venn diagram kind of crosses into all those things. But that's a great lineup that you have there. Absolutely. It's really exciting. And I remember you said that for those who didn't hear, it will certainly be in the bio, but that's July 14th in Madison, Connecticut. Any of the links that either myself or Glenn have mentioned in this, any events, anything like that, they will all be heavily labeled and clearly clickable in the bio of this video. And if you're on Spotify, they will be there as well. So if there's anything you heard that you're not trying to write down, if you're not, you should have an easy time clicking on her. Len, it was really good to have a chat with you here today. I'm glad that we got to get together and get some time together to, chat on camera and just kind of mix energies and spread some light. And whatever happens, and just mix our heart spaces and have a chat. And having a conversation about anything close to this topic is powerful. And I personally, I know about your event just from hearing about it prior, and I think it's something that just that's why I do what I do. I think it's something that deserves to be, promoted, deserves to have a little bit of an eye on it, even if I can just get one more eye on it. So, um, thank you for being here, and thank you for
So
all you've
much
done.
gratitude, my
Thank you for all
brother.
you've
Thank
done
you for all
to
that you
put
do.
together the retreat.
Thank you for all your listeners. Thank you for your kindness, your words. Thank you for your time and sharing time with me today. And doing that on my behalf. Thank you for your openness, your kindness, your authenticity, your sharing of your love, and thank you for allowing me to, uh, you know, bring in some light language and some of the divine spirits that are with us today. So thank you for all of that. My deepest, most heartfelt thanks and gratitude to you, and for all of the work that you do, the kindness and everything that you're bringing into the world. I am so grateful for you to be a part of it. So thank you. I really appreciate it.
Likewise, very well said, and I could say the same right back to you. Very much likewise, sir. Mutual respect between us. So, yeah, we're I hope to continue to be doing this show for quite some time. So, maybe next time you have something you want to chat about, next time,
Love to circle back.
maybe I'm guest short. Who knows? That might happen. Who knows? Definitely not against recurring guests. So hopefully we can have you back on to chat again sometime. And, certainly we'll speak on our own anyway. But yeah, thank you guys again. All of you, everybody who watched or listened or even checked this out a little bit. This is Tyler from the Immersive Podcast. Thanks for being here. Thank you so much. Thank you to Unified Tuning TV. Thank you to GFO Clothing. And of course, thank you to my producer, Jane. Couldn't do the show without a producer or anything going on behind the scenes. That would be tough. So there's a lot that Jane does that goes unseen, and it should be recognized. And of course, thank you to all past and future guests, but most importantly today, thank you to Glenn. Everybody, have an excellent day. Bless you, and hope we run into each other soon in an event. Cheers.